to the plea. Thank you. All right, we are adjourned for the day. Oh, Nate, I think I handed you the wrong.
Wow. We'll play the entirety of the whole entire thing, but I'm going to be fair, square, obvious, and honest. I think this might have been the biggest L that the state has taken. And we'll go further into detail on Saturday. But for now, let's just get into it.
Marvius Nichols, first name Q-U-A-M-A-R-V-I-O-U-S. My last name Nichols, N-I-C-H-O-L-S.
And Mr. Nichols, are you the same person referred to as Quamarvius Nichols on indictment 22 SC 183572?
Yes.
And are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No.
Have you had the opportunity to sign this indictment with your attorney, Mr. Bruce Harvey?
Yes.
How old are you?
29.
And how far did you go in school?
I got my GED.
I did not hear you.
I got my GED.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
Do you understand that in this indictment, you were initially charged with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, which carries a sentence of 5 to 20 years. You were also charged with count 49 in this indictment, which is murder, which carries a sentence of life. You were charged with 2 counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, which was counts 50 and 51, which each carried a sentence of 5 to 20 years. You were initially charged with counts 53 and 65, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon under Code Section 16-11-133, which each carried a sentence of 15 years consecutive to count 1. And then you were also charged with count 54, which is possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, which carried a sentence of 5 years consecutive to count 1. Do you understand that that's what you were initially charged with?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to go over and review the waiver of rights form with your attorney?
Yes.
And I'm going to hand this to your attorney. Did you sign this along with your attorney?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney, Mr. Bruce Harvey, about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charge in this indictment?
Yes.
Do you need any more time to discuss this man with your attorney?
No.
Are you satisfied with his counsel and representation?
Yes.
And I'd include in there the counsel and representation by Ms. Westmoreland and Mr. Garland as well. You had a team of attorneys.
That's correct.
All right.
And they are all attorneys of record and have participated in this particular proceeding and negotiations leading up to this proceeding.
Thank you.
Do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you waive any and all defects with respect to the indictment?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, have you been arrested on all the charges in this indictment?
Yes.
And Mr. Harvey, the state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you know of any outstanding warrants that are related to these charges?
Not related to those charges.
Have you been advised of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge that you are pleading to?
Yes.
Do you understand this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend to the court as to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, a sentence of 20 years to serve 7 years in custody, balanced on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand as a part of the negotiated agreement, the state will null, pros, or dismiss count 49, which is the murder count, count 50, 51, which are the gang activity counts, count 53, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, count 54, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and count 65, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon? Do you understand that is the negotiated agreement?
Yes.
Do you understand that the court does not have to accept that recommendation?
Yes.
And the court can sentence you to the maximum on each charge and can run those charges consecutively or one after the other?
Yes.
There's only one.
Well, there's only one charge
Yeah,
that
so I-
a guilty plea is
I
being
was-
entered into, so
Under my breath to that.
there's no other sentence to run anything consecutively with regard to this plea. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your entering a guilty plea today?
Yes.
Do you understand if you're placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of your sentence?
Yes.
Do you understand you are not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would, and that is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes.
Do you understand that neither the court, your attorney, nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole, the Department of Corrections, or Board of Pardons and Paroles, and no one can guarantee parole no matter what anyone has told you?
Yes.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or use a firearm in a crime, you'll be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison?
Yes.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes.
Do you understand if you went to trial, you have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you are giving up the following rights? After each right, I'll ask you to say yes or no if you understand. The right to a trial by jury.
Yes.
The right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself.
Yes.
The right to confront witnesses against you.
Yes.
The right to assist with counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the trial of your case.
Yes.
The right to the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
The right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence.
Yes.
The right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence.
Yes.
The right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes.
The right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you're in fact guilty?
Yes.
With respect to indictment 22 SC 183572, how do you plead to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with a full knowledge of the charge against you?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have 4 years from today's date to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this plea?
Yes.
And that can challenge anything about the constitutionality of the plea. It's not limited to voluntariness, understand?
Yes.
And Your Honor, if this case were to continue,
Hang on just a second. You also have, so 4 years for that to file a direct appeal. You have 30 days from the date of sentencing, which is going to be today. And you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw your guilty plea. That doesn't mean anything like that would be granted. You would have to establish facts that would warrant that. But that's just the time period is until the end of this term of court. Do you understand that as well?
Yes.
All right.
Your Honor, if this case were to continue with trial, Your Honor, the state would expect, as to this defendant, the state would expect to show that what has already come into evidence, that on July 3rd, 2017, as well as October 23rd, 2018, that this defendant is an associate of the enterprise of YSL, also known as Young Slime Life, and that he conspired to associate together with others for the common purpose of illegally obtaining money and property through a pattern of racketeering activity and conducting and participating in the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. In furtherance of the conspiracy, this defendant engaged in the activities below. He engaged in activities that assisted with preserving, protecting, and enhancing the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise through acts of racketeering activity to include murder, assault, and threats of violence. That this defendant preserved, protect, and enhance the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise by the posting of messages, images, appearance in videos, and songs demonstrating allegiance to the enterprise and a willingness to engage in violence on its behalf, and to obtain money, weapons, and other property through acts of racketeering activity, including the unlawful sale and distribution of drugs. Your Honor, evidence has come in during this trial that on July 3rd, 2017, Mr. Nichols was located at 2612 Steele Avenue, which is in the Cleveland Avenue sector of the city. Your Honor, he was found inside of a vehicle. When that vehicle was searched, Your Honor, this was in October of 2018, they found marijuana as well as sandwich baggies that would be used to package drugs, and there are also guns found inside of that vehicle. Also, in July of 2017, this defendant was stopped during a traffic stop in the Cascade area, Your Honor. After being stopped, Your Honor, there was a consensual search of the vehicle that yielded powder MDMA, Xanax, as well as a loaded gun inside of that vehicle. Additionally, Your Honor, in July 2019, Mr. Nichols was featured in a video with another YSL member, Shannon Stillwell, and Woody Lee. In that video, it was entitled Slat Talk. And in that video, co-conspirator Shannon Stillwell, while performing, makes such quotes as, "Me and my slimes are above the law." We know from the evidence that slimes is one of the terminology used by members of YSL to refer to themselves or other members of this enterprise. And then last but certainly not least, Your Honor, that in March of 2022, Your Honor, Mr. Nichols was found in surveillance video at a gas station at Windsor Street and Fulton Street here in Atlanta, Georgia. This was on March 14, 2022, during what the state would believe to show an onset of a gang war that really started in 2015 with the death of Donovan Thomas that carried on into 2022. In February of 2022, a rival gang member by the name of Rayshawn Bennett, also known as YFN Lucci, was stabbed at the Fulton County Jail in February of 2022. Information about that stabbing was made public at early part of March 2022, around March 3rd of 2022. Once that information was released to the public, there was an onset of retaliatory activity that occurred between March 3rd, 2022 and March 16th of 2022. That includes a March 11th homicide of YSL associates Christian McMiller and Darius Ford. It also then included a retaliatory shooting of a YFN associate, and then ultimately it led to a murder of Shamel Drinks, who we believe is a YFN associate. This murder occurred again on March 14, 2022. Mr. Nichols is seen on surveillance video at that BP gas station, as I just referenced earlier. He was at the gas station with YSL co-conspirator Shannon Stillwell. Mr. Stillwell was driving an Audi vehicle. Mr. Nichols came to that gas station in a Ford Fusion vehicle. You see both of them on camera together. While they are at that gas station, Shamel Drinks approaches that gas station as well. I think unbeknownst to Mr. Drinks, Mr. Stillwell was still in his vehicle, which is the Audi. At some point in time, Mr. Nichols got into his vehicle, the Ford Fusion. Once Mr. Drinks finished his business or finished handling business at that gas station, we know that there's a phone call between occupants of the car that Mr. Stillwell was in and occupants of the car that Mr. Nichols was in. That communication was to the effect of, you need to get on FaceTime. As soon as that conversation ensues, we see Mr. Drinks leave the gas station in his vehicle, and both the car that Mr. Stillwell is driving, as well as the car that Mr. Nichols is driving, both follow out of the gas station, following behind Mr. Drinks. Mr. Drinks proceeds down the street to the light at Windsor, which is right by I-20 in Windsor. Mr. Drinks is in the far left lane. The car involving with Mr. Stillwell pulls up to the middle lane, and Mr. Nichols' vehicle pulls up to the far right lane. This is all captured on surveillance video and surveillance camera. They are at the light for a moment. Then we see both this car with Mr. Stillwell as well as the car with Mr. Nichols drive through a red light, leaving the car with Mr. Drinks sitting at that light. About 30 minutes later, a Good Samaritan sees that car still sitting there, approaches the vehicle, and Mr. Drinks is now deceased inside of that vehicle. We had know through LPR readers that both Mr. Stillwell's vehicle and the car involving Mr. Nichols drive in the direction of 20 westbound and follow in tandem. 2 days later, when after the case is investigated and arrest warrants are taken out, on March 17th, 3 days later, Mr. Nichols is found with Mr. Stillwell at a Chick-fil-A gas station, Chick-fil-A restaurant. There is a chase, I won't call it a high-speed chase, but there is a chase through the city of East Point, and eventually Mr. Nichols as well as Mr. Stillwell are both apprehended after arrest warrants were ultimately taken out for the murder of Mr. Drinks, Your Honor. Given where we are in the case, Your Honor, we know that Mr. Nichols, we do not believe Mr. Nichols was in the vehicle in which the shooting occurred, but he was in this other vehicle. The state has made the decision to move forward with this recommendation for the RICO count, Your Honor, for count one.
Mr. Harvey, are y'all acknowledging a factual basis to the count one, the RICO count?
Okay, we are acknowledging a factual basis There has already been evidence with regard to the July 3rd, 2017 drug event, the October 23rd, 2018 drug event. We categorically deny and contest any use of violence by Mr. Nichols. We don't agree to that underlying factual basis. We believe those two predicate acts that were committed by Mr. Nichols, without any question, are sufficient to meet the elements of the offense. The offense to which he's pleaded to, which is a RICO conspiracy. A RICO conspiracy requires proof that the defendant either conspire with another person to violate one of the substantive provisions of RICO, and that would be drug offenses, or personally endeavor, I believe that's what the language of the statute says, to violate one of the substantive provisions.
Well, that's what the language of the statute says, but
Yes.
he is indicted in this indictment with conspiring, not with endeavoring.
That's correct. So we're talking about a conspiracy. We acknowledge the two events that he participated in. We categorically deny any other allegations other than those two events that are sufficient for a factual basis. We categorically deny that we participated in any way in the unfortunate death of Mr. Drinks. We categorically deny any other charges to which we are, substantive charges to which we are not entering a plea, and that includes gang charges. This is a plea solely to a conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. So that, but yes, we acknowledge a factual basis to that extent, Your Honor.
Understood. All right, thank you.
They just denied that they had anything to do with the murder of Shamel Drinks. He said we categorically deny. Miss Love, are you? He even just said we ain't even saying the gang charges. In what world is this a W for the state? Why would you even sign off for? I got a theory at the end. This is an L right here. Basically, he just basically said, I'm a drug dealer. I'm a drug dealer. Now, there is a W for the state. I ain't gonna hold you. It's gonna be bad. Because I didn't catch it until I listened to it to like the third time. Because it's what he said that y'all just heard. He only said, I only sold drugs as conspiring. That's the RICO, me and a couple of homies. But we didn't do it as no gang for YSL. So that drug sell part of YSL is out the door. But I ain't gonna hold you. If I'm Shannon, I'm sitting there like, what? Because technically, he did just throw him under the bus. He said, I ain't had nothing to do with that. That's not saying he did it. That's not saying he did it. But if you and I were sitting down and there was something that was taken and it's me and you, and somebody come up and say, hey, y'all took my stuff, and I say, it wasn't me. I didn't say it was him, but I'm saying it wasn't me.
One additional thing to say.
Go ahead.
The factual basis regarding the nature of YSL is that the evidence has shown and will continue to show that Mr. Nichols conspired with others to participate in Young Slime Life through a pattern of racketeering activity, and multiple defendants and unindicted co-conspirators have committed overt acts to further this conspiracy, including drug sales, aggravated assault, and murder, also including social media posts asserting the violent nature of and asserted dominance of Young Slime Life, also known as YSL. And that concludes our factual basis.
And again, once again, we, again, categorically deny those representations. And again, the only thing that is necessary to meet the factual evidence of a 1614-4C is proof that the defendant conspire with another person to violate one of the substantive provisions of RICO, and that is subsumed by the drug offenses that have already been proven in this case, and to which Mr. Nichols has previously pled.
All right, thank you. Understood.
And Your Honor, I approach with the waiver of rights form of the
Yes. All right. Mr. Harvey, have you reviewed with Mr. Nichols this plea of guilty and waiver of rights form, which the two of you have both signed?
I have, Judge, in each individual provision in that plea colloquy has been acknowledged and gone over personally with Mr. Nichols.
All right. And Mr. Nichols, have you had sufficient time to consider this guilty plea that has been negotiated between the state and your attorneys, and to discuss anything you wanted to about that with your attorneys?
Yes.
All right. And you understand, I hope, I'm going to ask you, that it is your decision ultimately, obviously with the advice of your attorneys, but it's ultimately up to you individually to decide whether you want to enter this guilty plea or not. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. And you do want to enter this guilty plea?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Harvey, have you advised Mr. Nichols of the alternatives if he does not ultimately go through with this guilty plea, and the potential benefits and drawbacks of all of the other options?
Yes,
All right.
very thoroughly, Judge.
All right. All right, Mr. Harvey, is there anything that the defense wants to add to the record?
Judge, other than the statement with regard to the underlying factual basis, I would point out for the court that when Mr. Nichols filled out his form, it says 29 plus. He is a birthday boy in a couple of days, and he will be 30. And at 30 years of age, he has a wife, he has got a 13-year-old daughter, he's got a 10-year-old daughter, and an 8-year-old son. His wife and sister, I believe, are here in the courtroom to support him. He, Mr. Nichols, was born and raised in Atlanta, and you know, we're at this point, before I have even given my opening statement in this case.
Yes, sir.
I do want the court to know that Mr. Nichols' mother died in prison. His father was shot by the Atlanta police when he was 4 years old. And he was raised by friends and family in the Atlanta area. So he has come to this point in his life from a very humble beginning. And he has sought the support of friends in this courtroom and others in this courtroom.
Yeah. So I wanted to start the video off with this clip, but I think it makes more sense that I put it at the very end.
Okay. Whenever y'all are ready.
Your Honor, I'd like my client to be present for this. He's a member of the public, and I would like him to observe this, and he has a right to be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we get
Are you granting
Mr.
that?
Kendrick
Thank you.
out, please?
Hold on, Judge. Hold up.
Now, basically, they're saying that, hey, he got 20 to serve 7, time served already, which is essentially 2 years, and then whatever that 65%, I believe that Georgia falls under, essentially for a body. Not bad. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is bad for Shannon. This is bad for Shannon. F it. He basically just got on that stand and said, we're not a gang, we didn't do anything like that, which doesn't hurt the whole entire RICO. But he also said at the same time, without saying it, I had nothing to do with it. So I'm a huge Star Trek fan, right? And one of the things that Spock says is that when nothing else remains, what remains is the truth. So if I am saying that, nah, it ain't me, I didn't do it, I didn't do any of this stuff, what remains is Shannon. So Shannon has to prove that he didn't do it. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because y'all can go check out Miss Sylvia's video. Basically, the freaking state tried to bring in Shamel Drink's family to come testify. Shamel Drink's family does not believe that Shannon nor Marquavius Huey, sorry, not Marquavius Huey, he's still there. I can't remember cuz last name. Basically, not that Quay right there. Not Marquavius right there. So we can kind of see it in a bad way and a good way, but the family, in my opinion, would not come out and say that if they didn't think that the evidence that they seen was insufficient. So to me, and this is just to me, if my mama, she came out and she said, hey man, listen, y'all some terrible individuals, blah, 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 some more stuff. All right, cool. But if she said that towards the state and not towards the people who did it, you don't think that that wouldn't flare up some antennas? So how I'm trying to get y'all to understand this is this. On the surface, at first, it does look bad. It does look bad. Without that family saying what they said last night on Infamous Sylvia channel, I ain't gonna hold you. I would be firing all type of arrows into what the hell just happened in court. But it kind of sits me back. And it's essentially what I alluded to yesterday. The only person who was more than likely going to take a plea deal was going to be Quamarvius Nichols. Because at the end of the freaking day, I said Marquavius, wow. So somebody probably in the freaking chat, in the comments like, no, Domi, you said, I mess up names all the time. All the freaking time. So please, if you're new here, please understand, Seti Nash will say a wrong name and then context clues will let you know that I'm actually going to talk about that person. Marquavius Nichols. Quamarvius Nichols, sorry. What the hell is wrong with me? I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, bro, without that, I don't think so. So I'm going to say this. This is a big, fat mother effing L for the state. Or is it? On one hand, you could say, well, we didn't have enough evidence anyways, so we got his ass on out of here. But I don't think a common person would look at them charges and go, that's good. So on that end, if I'm looking towards the state, I could say, you know what? Everybody that got up out of here, they took a plea deal. Yeah, but your evidence is kind of trash. All right. So switch it to another route. Let's go on the defense. The defense got him up out of here, man, damn near from day one. I told y'all, Bruce Harvey wanted off. What he didn't want to do was sit Quamarvius Nichols, Shannon Stillwell. Hi, my name is Matt Shard. I represent Shannon Stillwell. He got to put that on the TV, on the t-shirt after he does. I might wear that when they get released. Anyways, he don't want those two individuals with the charges that Shannon has and the charges that he has, put them together and think positive is going to happen. That was not what was going to happen. And I think what ultimately happened was they used that mistrial as a bargaining chip. She withdrew the mistrial because everybody else did not want to. I can't remember the lady's name. I'm so freaking sorry. But she played her part well. They played, as far as what Quamarvius Nichols paid for, he got a bang for his buck. Bruce Harvey is a legend, and I told y'all that. And I ain't gonna lie. Y'all seen how he just did that at the plea deal? That just tell you how bad Moonton Glory was. I hate to press that button, but it is what it is. We're gonna sit up here one day and go, well, damn. This was good, this was bad, this was good, this was bad. And we were bombarded with such false information and such speculation. Me, myself, I was speculatory on a lot of things. I got told some stuff that if I had been a year or 2 years before, I would have 100% dropped it and not gave a dang about the implication of it all. And I would have said some stuff that literally did not happen. And thank goodness that you guys are here supporting us, because at the end of the day, you guys are what matter. You guys drive the channel. This is your channel. Just please stop cussing and saying certain things, because I'm not about to keep going through and goddamn removing all that stuff. Couple days until we do the $1,000 giveaway anyway, so yeah. But anyways, nah, the state takes a big L, because how is it that you let a supposed murderer go and only get 7 years essentially? Really 5. Ain't even really doing 5. Some people are saying, well, the way this works out, he'll be out in 7 months. Oh, the way this works out, he'll be out in 18 months. It don't matter. He ain't going to be gone for the rest of his life. I look at, like, for instance, they said he had, well, I don't know. I don't know. I think he was in jail around that time, but maybe he was. I got to go check it out again. But like I said, we'll drop a bigger, more detailed video on Saturday about this. But essentially, hey, bruh, no. He just basically played out and said I was a drug dealer. Me and a couple of homies. And this wasn't YSL. The state, what the hell was that? FANI Willis, you were scared. They had you scared. And I think ultimately what happened was when they came with those plea deals, they came with terrible plea deals. I ain't asked the lawyer because I'm not interviewing no lawyers until the trial is over. So first off, they wouldn't tell me anyways. That's attorney-client privilege. They're not going to tell me any of that. And the reason why the cameras weren't in there is because the state did not want y'all to see what was going on because it was pretty bad. It was pretty stupid. It was pretty ridiculous. I believe, and I have no inside sources. Once again, this is theory. And I hope some channels take it when I say, just say it as a theory. People gonna rock with you regardless. It's the people that unsubscribe and stop messing with you when you say this is 100% truth. And even if it's not 100% truth, you got to come back and fix that. My sources were wrong, but they ain't gonna, but anyways, go. The state took a big ass L. You let an alleged murderer out with priors of a bunch of drug dealing and all that stuff because somebody read a sentence wrong. Let's not pretend here that the lawyers just beat the hell out of the state and the state had to capitulate. They did that in them private meetings. But as far as how we got here, all because of Miss Hilton. And I ain't gonna hold you. I used to think that Miss Love was the bad person here. Can't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. It wasn't. It ain't. No, that was Miss Hilton mess up. Miss Hilton, you need to be reprimanded for that. I ain't gonna hold you. After this, I wouldn't want to see, if I Miss Love, I don't want to see your ass here no more. And that's why Miss Love, as bad as we get on her case, while she was micromanaging and stuff like that, that wouldn't have happened with Miss Love. I damn near can guarantee it. You serious? Sorry, I thought we just got the indictment. I mean, not the indictment. The what the hell is it called? Because I'm trying to see the actual plea agreement and the details of it all, but I guess not. But anyways, share to keep your people aware. Subscribe, turn on the bell, stay notified, and I'll catch you on the next one. We will do a live stream for the giveaway. So I think what I'm going to have to do is for the more detailed stuff, I think I know what to do and how to show y'all. I think what we're going to start doing at the end of the videos is showing you exactly how you can be qualified and entered to win, because we have a lot of people and there will be a bag and a big ass bag shaking and everything like that. But at the end of the day, not everybody's freaking qualified. A lot of people did. And I'll catch you on the next one.